Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Brother Warren.
Hey, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I can't complain.
It's a good thing.
It's an honor to have you back on the show. I know it's been a minute, but I always wanted to get you back on again because you have such amazing insight about things going on, and it needs definitely to be amplified. And I think you're doing a great job of amplifying a lot of things on your own. But I definitely want to get my people clued in and helpish caught up with what you're doing. So can you just reintroduce yourself to our people, if you don't mind?
Yes, sir. I'm DeJuan B., comedian, humorist, radio show personality, advocate. And I'm here. I've been working here. I've been here in L.A. my whole life, working 25 years directly on the ground, starting in Watson 1995 at Killer King Drew Medical Center. Started tutoring as a child, tutored myself, and has never left the streets when it came to my advocacy working with children. I work and families. I advocate for families through the school system with IEPs. I have my company Breakthrough Advocacy Services, where I give webinars and one-on-one consultations to families on, where to direct their children into school. Also, we do family coaching, family communication. That's what we do with communication solutions. And so I have a lot of different things that I do, but it's also very focused. Everything that I do that I've been doing for a long time, and I'm really good at it. And so I try to bring that perspective to my radio show and to my podcasting and those type things, real life perspective, real life solutions to all the issues that we confront. Because if we bring up a problem, you can guarantee we're going to talk about the solutions.
I'll definitely do a great job of balancing the act because you got a great sense of humor or humor.
Humor, I like that.
Yeah, and also, you also are serious about what you do. So, like, what's going on right now is definitely not a laughing matter, but at the same time, you're definitely part of the solution. You're not part of the problem. You're a builder and not a destroyer. So I respect that because you're doing things on and offline. So we got to have that duality. You got to exist online, of course. 2020 is just a mess. And then, but there's hope at the same time. And it's people like you, Brother DeJuan, that gives me hope that we are not done yet, that we are not all lost, and that the best is yet to come. So with that said, I don't know where to start with you because, I know, oh, my God, I just love your show, man. I just be overwhelmed with stuff. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Sometimes this stuff is overwhelming. I want to just sign off but I'm just thankful that there's brothers and sisters like you out there doing this amazing job of trying to reach our people. And it's baby steps sometimes, and people make fun of folks who are serious about trying to help not only save our people but liberate our people and elevate our people. In times like this, especially something powerful, because I was thinking about. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Before you go on, I want to thank you.
Okay.
You brought us Dick Gregory. You brought us Judge Joe Brown. You bring us Dr. Randy Short. You give us the solutions through your platform, and I really want the people out there to appreciate that. And when you put your Cash App, donate to you and buy those T-shirts. And those are some good quality T-shirts that you have. Let me know which maker that you use. I love the quality of the T-shirts that you use. Buy your people listening, buy your stuff because you're giving us the medicine and everything we need. So I really want to make sure I put that out there. I thank you, just as someone who listens to you and also does what I do. So that's all I wanted to say.
Man, that's an honor being right there. I'm smiling over here, man. I appreciate that. You just never know sometimes. I thank you. You did a great job. I appreciate it. I need to hire you as my publicist or something, my PR. But you too great, man. You really served me up well. But I want to ask you this. 'Cause I thought about this yesterday, right? I thought about, with 2020, right? And you think about 100 years ago, where were black people at in 1920? You know, in 1920, we had Marcus Garvey in the United Negro Improvement Association. For better or for worse, he was probably our greatest mass leader we ever produced. He was our greatest mass leader. I mean, he had millions of people around the diaspora following him and doing things under him. But what do we have in terms of black leadership now? All this coronavirus, police brutality, and the so-called hangings going on and other things that's affecting black people right now. Who do we have as black leaders, or what organizations you feel like are black leadership organizations or have the Black First agenda?
I don't see too many organizations out there with that. What I see now is different, and I think it's also more necessary to the times that we're in. We're in an era where people are really starting to lead themselves. You know, what we see out there on the street, the TV, the news may say, hey, it's Black Lives Matter. It might be 3 out of every 1,000 that's out there that's actually officially part of Black Lives Matter. No one really deals with Black Lives Matter like that other than a few, you know, LGBTQ folks. Outside of that, for the most part, people are on their own. You got the New Black Panther Party that's out there, the Nation of Islam that's still out there. You got the people who identify as ADOS out there. You got, you know, people who listen to Tariq Nasheed. I think he's a powerful voice as to what's going on right now. Brother Jason Black, I think he's another powerful voice that goes on right now. Those are good voices. And matter of fact, I honestly include you in that and the information that you bring. Because the people, I don't really see any physical leaders, but I do see individuals who are giving black people the information that we need, that we weren't taught in school, that the news is never going to repeat, giving us guests and experts that we're never going to hear on MSNBC or CNN. And from that, I think you're starting to see a critical mass of people take it upon themselves and lead themselves, which is exactly where we need to be, because we all know in the past when we have an identified leader, that's all our enemy needs to take out that leader and destroy the movement. You know what I mean? And we all know, going back through history, we can look back and see COINTELPRO was under some of this stuff. We can look back and see that Marcus Garvey had FBI, when the FBI was beginning, those people all in his organization undermining things in real time. So when his Black Star Line didn't happen and he had to go back to Jamaica, the overwhelming sense amongst a lot of black people was, damn, he must not have been who he was because it didn't get pulled off. They didn't know at the time that he was being sabotaged every step of the way. And so when people throw their faith into someone or to an individual, when that individual comes up short, because it's almost a guarantee they will come up short because there's all these governmental forces coming against them, people lose hope. They lose heart. They get disheartened. And then things slow down. So right now, even if they try to take out some of the voices that we have, the message is already out there. You can't unring the bell. There's a critical mass of people who know where to go to find the information now, where I couldn't say we knew where to go before a Hidden Cutters came out or something like that, you know? Mm-hmm. So, and then people like you, we can always go back and listen to some of those old Dick Gregory interviews that you have. Dick Gregory is still relevant today. Yeah. You know, Dick Gregory is just as much of a leader right now as the people who are alive, because your interviews from him in 2014, 2015 is more relevant now in some ways than they were then. So that's where I think we are right now. The leadership is like the internet. Who leads the internet? We don't know, but everybody's on it. Everybody's participating, and people are doing what they want. So I think that's the era right now we're in. I think that's a good thing.
That's excellent, man. You open up so many, Pandora boxes in your response, man. There's so many places I can go with it. I definitely got to ask you, since you are a professional, you're a comedian and a connoisseur of culture, what's your take? You brought up Dick Gregory, and I'm looking at the torchbearer in Dave Chappelle. Like, what is your take on his latest 846 comedy special?
That Dave Chappelle is a god, isn't he?
No, he's amazing.
He is, because the gods are the people here in human form that reach the highest level of what they do. You know, that's a reflection of God itself, you know? And that's what Chappelle has been doing comedy for so long and talking for so long. He knows how to go on stage not necessarily go on stage to get laughs first, but to get a serious message out and still get the laugh. As a comedian, people don't know how hard that is to do because, like, especially when you're young in comedy, when you go a few minutes or a few seconds without a laugh, you get very insecure on that stage. That stage starts to feel real lonely when you talk and they're not laughing. And the longer you talk and they not laugh, the more lonely you get on that stage. It takes a true veteran, somebody who's like just the GOAT. It takes somebody who's really, really good at what they do to be able to sit in that silence and still deliver the point without losing confidence. Because people don't understand, no matter how long you've been doing comedy, there gets a point on that stage where if you ain't hitting them, if people ain't laughing, you get to feeling a little bit insecure for a little bit. Same way a basketball player goes through a shooting slump. You sort of get hesitant to shoot. And you've been thinking, like, why are they nervous? They in the NBA. But, yeah, they're in the NBA, but they not at Kobe's level. So, you know, Dave Chappelle is like a Kobe. No matter what he said, it was poignant. It was what we need to hear. He got to talk about how the officer that killed one of those brothers in Ohio, excuse me, I forget the name, pulled him over the night before. He killed that brother in Walmart for holding a toy gun.
And John Crawford, yeah.
Yes. And so he really illustrated what it is in life. People always say, oh, you have money, but, man, what if that particular cop didn't happen to know who he was? You know? And so Dave Chappelle pointed that out, and, you know, that's something, because, like, my style of comedy, I don't do stand-up as much as I used to. I'm more of a humorist now, where I take my advocacy and what I do, and when I speak, I use my comedy to make my speaking engagements more funny. Because in comedy, you know, your comedy club owners, your people in comedy, they don't necessarily like you going on that stage and giving strong messages with laughs. You know, you get here in LA, there are certain comedy clubs that I used to do. I used to go on stage and get big laughs. Don't get me wrong. Laughs are huge. I'm funny as hell. But I got a message behind it. And that message makes some people a little nervous. And when I say some people, these are sometimes black-owned comedy places. You know, and a lot of comedy clubs don't foster that kind of stuff. And so at least, you know, with Dave Chappelle doing it, hopefully the comedy clubs will allow their comics who don't necessarily have a Dave Chappelle's name the time to get on that stage and process thoughts out that are still funny but relevant to what's going on right now. And only a Dave Chappelle could do it the way he did.
I mean, you just give great answers, man. You're just very insightful. I mean, and I was thinking about as you was talking, I mean, okay, you know, Kobe was born on August 23rd, of course, and Dave is born, or was born rather, August 24th. They both Virgos. So this Mamba mentality is really a Virgo thing because you got Charlie Parker and Michael Jackson. All these cats are Virgos. Nas a Virgo. I mean, this is amazing, this Virgo energy. But then you look at, I like about Dave is that I look at that special. I mean, to me, it was excellent. I mean, he's like the Kobe Bryant or Charlie Parker at his craft. He's up there. He's a god, you know, in disguise as Dave Chappelle, as, you know, referencing you. But, like, I look at that and I said, man, he got those dates off, but it's the truth in what he's saying, the energy he tapped into. He might got his timeline off with the shootings and stuff. He said that the last game that Kobe played happened around the time of the Michael Johnson stuff and the Gavin Long stuff. That was in the summer, as you know, as a Kobe super fan, that the last game was April 13, 2016. But it was the spirit. He didn't lie to us. It was that energy. It is a sign of a great master storyteller. Like you said, you was a humorist. The same thing with Dick Gregory. Like Dick talked about at the age of 30, how it's hard to tell the truth on stage when you're trying to make money. He referenced that in between going down to Mississippi. And the weeks after that, he lost his son and he lost Mega Evans and, you know, all this stuff. But he was talking about at the age of 30, it is not a bankable thing to tell the truth in comedy. But then you got to have a certain truth to your art. Just like what Picasso said, he said, art is a lie that makes us realize truth. And then Paul Robeson, who we don't talk about enough, he said that artists are the gatekeepers of the truth. So, I mean, yeah, I was blown away by that.
It is because one thing I find, like, in comedy, like, I like to, Dick Gregory is my inspiration. As a matter of fact, I saw him a few times. The last 2 times he came into L.A. I at the Comedy Store and also the J Spot. I went backstage and I got to talk to him both times.
Excellent.
He used to go on stage with notes and then tell you about what's going on. The same stuff he would talk about on your show, he would go on stage and talk about it, and then at the last second, hit him with it. Now you know that fool don't know what he's doing. You know how he used to talk, and it was just And so, and that's how it is in comedy, man. Like, what I found was this: I'm the type, if I'm gonna talk shit about Obama, I'm gonna do it in front of a black comedy club, not in front of white people. I like to sort of go uphill and go right at the people who love the person most and question what they think about the particular person, then make a joke about it. If I'm going to talk about Republicans, I'm going down to Orange County in the middle of KKK heaven, and I'm going to crack them jokes down there. And I tell you this, I go to Orange County, I go to Richmond, Virginia, I go to some of the other places around the country that are white, and I tell the truth about how the Republican Party is, about Ronald Reagan. Guess what they do? They laugh. Even though they voted for him, even though they love him, they know when the truth is the truth. I used to have a joke called "I'm Just the Manager," where I talked about my experience as a property owner. Not property owner. My experience as a property manager. I run the place. I got the title. I got the authority. But at the end of the day, I don't own nothing. And so I used to go around. One thing I used to talk about my neighbors. I would tell them, "Hey, man, turn the water off. Stop washing those cars. You're raising the water bill." And then he looked at me and was like, "What you worry about it for, fat boy? You just the manager." And I thought about it. I couldn't really do nothing. So then when President Obama got in office, I saw him give money. The first thing he did when he got in office in 2008 was in bailouts. He gave the banks money. He gave all these other people money. And I'm over here wondering, well, President Obama, how you going to give all them the money and we the ones that voted for you? And then I thought about it, and I realized that, he's just the manager, just like me. He don't own shit, he's just running it. And that's the joke. Of course, it's a bigger joke, and it's a lot of punchlines in the middle of that. But that's the gist of the joke. But one of the comedy clubs I did that at, black owned, they stopped booking me because of it.
Wow.
Because I didn't say that, okay, Obama's the next coming of Jesus, and I sort of questioned what he does. They didn't like that. And so the reason why you see, I just want people out there to know, like when they say, what happened to the Richard Pryors? What happened to the Carlins? What happened to the political comics? The comedy club cut their knees off when they develop into that. And it's like either you go into the fluffy stuff and make people laugh and keep getting booked, or you stay true to yourself and then have to trudge along your own way because you're not going to get help from them. And that's the choice a young comic has to make.
It's a very insightful just talking to you. I like when I could listen to somebody talk and I get all these ideas and you just open up all these doors and portals, man. I don't know where to go into, man, because I'm serious, man. You're brilliant, man. I just love listening to you speak on things, and I look forward to seeing more great things from you. This Obama, what year was that joke you started doing Obama, the Obama joke? What year was that?
I started doing an Obama joke like around 2011 because I started to see things wasn't quite going the way we wanted them to go. 2012, and I started seeing things go the other way, and I started, within that joke, I pointed out, I would just point out all the things that he was doing for big business, for banks, and for everybody, but the common person ain't really getting nothing. And it makes people, and I've had people come to me and say, you know what, I was a hardcore, you couldn't tell me anything about Obama, but after that joke, I'm sort of starting to see, okay, and I would say the same thing about Reagan, and how he wasn't shit, and how he got all these white Republicans that love Reagan and cut taxes, but you don't realize, Jethro, he cut the rich people's taxes, and that's why your sorry ass kids ain't got a good education, because Reagan took the money, and when you hear that way, it's more palatable to some people, and people with a sense of humor. But like I said, what I find is the people like it. If you're good, if you know how to deliver it, the people love it. They are trying to make it seem like the people don't want these things. The people are fine. It's the gatekeepers that don't want people thinking. And if somebody that make people think, they got questions.
You know, you say that, that's why Dave Chappelle is so special, because he's up there with the Carlins and the Pryors and whatnot. I mean, you look at the hell that Leonard Bruce caught. I mean, Leonard Bruce caught a lot of hell. He was a martyr for the cause. And, you know, when you say that about Chappelle, I'm thinking about, man, I would love to hear Patrice O'Neal's take on all this. I'm a big Patrice O'Neal fan, man. He just left too early,
man. Patrice O'Neal, yes. I would love to hear Patrice O'Neal's, because that was another honest truth teller. Another truth teller. He doesn't get into politics as much, but he's somebody who tells the truth from his point of view as a Corey Holcomb, you know. But I see some of the hurdles Corey has to deal with, but he has such a huge fan base they can't deny him. You know, he gets to write his own ticket. But without that fan base, they don't like Corey in Hollywood, because he says things that don't necessarily fall in line with the Democratic Party. That's the thing. When you black in the entertainment, if you don't fall in line with the Democratic Party, you on the outskirts.
Wow.
You know, up and down. You better walk that party line. And I see some of these young comics up there. Well, when I say young comics, they're established and they're veterans within the game, but they're young as far as notoriety amongst everyone, you know, out there. And I see them jumping on this Democratic train. And I'm thinking, like, you know, you ain't really got to do that. They sort of keep making big niggas do that because black folks keep doing it. If people just said no and started thinking for themselves, they'd have to be forced to make some kind of change, because we are the talent.
You know what? I was thinking about who I could think of a comment that actually made it. Like Corey Holcomb, like you said, he has a great fan base, and he reminds me of, like, I know you're a big fan of Robin Harris, them cats that really just made their own ticket, but they didn't last like they should have last. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't know Robin Harris was he even 40 when he died? He was in his late 30s. Right?
I think he was in his late 30s, but yeah.
I mean, he looked so much older than what he was, but
yeah, he went to Mayo Arts High School with my dad.
Wow. You got any stories, Robin Harris stories?
I don't have any personal ones because I was too young. He was the person that when he did Baby's Kids, I think I was like 8 or 9 when Baby's Kids, when the whole bit about Baby's Kids he did on his HBO special.
Oh yeah, that was classic.
So I was a fan of him back then. And a family friend of mine is Sam Watson. He's Al Heyman's front man. He's the person that you always see in the boxing ring. That's anytime you see Al Heyman anything, you're going to see Sam as his face.
Okay.
And Sam grew up with my dad. He was also Robin Harris's manager when Robin Harris got into comedy. And he talks about how, like, I remember hearing a story from him about Robin Harris. About Robin Harris was in the Crenshaw district, you know, and he was down there, and that's where he was doing his comedy. And he never went up to Hollywood. He tried to go up to Hollywood, but he was like, man, in my gut, this just ain't me. I got to be around my people. So Robin Harris brought Hollywood to the Crenshaw district. And this was when the Crenshaw district was earning its reputation. This was pre-Boys in the Hood Crenshaw district. Okay. This is pre-Riot Crenshaw district. This was like when Crenshaw district was the Crenshaw district that everybody around the world became, and South Central became notorious for what it became notorious for. Those years. He had some people from Hollywood coming down. He had Mike Tyson coming down. Anybody in Hollywood coming down there to Lambert Park to watch him do his stand-up comedy. And that's the thing that stood out to me most about Robin Harris. He brought Hollywood to the hood and not the other way around.
You know, and I mean, like, when you talk about Robin Harris, I mean, I love Robin. I mean, this is my grandfather's birthday today. He would have been 97 years old. He died in 2005. But I remember that HBO special when it first came out, man. We was laughing so hard.
Oh, man, my God.
My grandfather was everybody was laughing. And it was I remember seeing Robin Harris in House Party. And it was sad to see him go so fast. But it's like, I mean, Robin Harris, Bernie Mac, Red Fox, Corey Holcomb, I put them all in the same category, so to speak, because these guys, you know, Hollywood is so slow to catching on to how great these guys were. And, you know, a large following behind them. You look at somebody like Bernie Mac, when they say, we can't understand what he's saying. He can't be mainstream, but he's just being himself. And it worked.
Let me tell you the truth about Hollywood.
Okay.
Hollywood is segregated. You have Black Night, and then black people get one night a week at the major comedy clubs, and that's it.
Wow.
And I figured this out because before I got into comedy, I used to do loans. And I remember I used to do, like, I work on the back end, and I remember one particular comedy club, on Sunset Boulevard. I'm not going to say the name of the place, but it's a very well-known, world-famous comedy store. It's on Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing some of that information come across my desk. That place was struggling, always struggling. The only time that they made money was on Black Night. And that's how it is in most of the comedy stuff. You go on Black Night, it's going to be popping. You're going to see, every star you want to see. And black people, when we go out to party, we don't buy beer. We buy hard liquor. We buy Hennessy. Mm-hmm. We buy Patron. On their nights, they're going to buy some water and beer. So not only do you get more people on Black Night, you get more money being spent. And you get the funniest comics on earth.
Wow.
People you never heard of are going to have your ribs busting. Then you go the next night on Tuesday or Wednesday night on the regular night that the comedy club has. Mm-hmm. You're going to see all these white and non-black comics, because for them, they get their quota by just booking non-black people. And here in LA is the verse, so it's going to be an Indian or Chinese or whatever. And these people, they say funny things, but they're not real funny. But when you put these people who are on TV and not black on Black Night next to random Joe who you never heard of getting 15 minutes, we blow them out the water every single time. I mean, so if I own a comedy club and I'm white, I'm not going to put these black people up here next to these white comics so you can blow out the people I'm depending on for money. No. You black people, you get a different night, and I'm only going to book one of you through the rest of the week because, we too good at what we do. We, totally outshine them. And so they the way I look at it is that's their way of keeping the field of comedy white. Because, like I said, the customer don't care. The customer just wants to laugh. Mm-hmm. And so if the customer sees me, one night I had to follow, what's that white girl that's on TV? Not Amy Schumer, the other one. This is one of those white girls who are on TV who's always on TV.
Not Kathy Griffin right now. Well,
no, not Kathy Griffin. She's younger. She has long black hair. And she said sometimes Sarah Silverman. I had to follow her one night, and I remember at the time I was only about a year and a half into comedy, and I'm nervous because she's been on comedy forever. Mm-hmm. And I get on that. She got some good laughs, ha ha ha, chuckle chuckle chuckle. I walk on stage after that, and I ripped that motherfucker, got a standing ovation. And I realized in that moment, these people ain't good, they just white. And I'm not saying all white comics are bad. There's plenty of good ones. A lot of the best white comics I know aren't on, They just have but the ones who are on, they just have the opportunity. Someone like that look, someone like this, someone like that. And here in LA, at the comedy clubs or nationwide, the only way you're getting booked on that Saturday night is if you got a brand new TV show, brand new commercial. And if you don't have that, then I don't care how funny you are. We're going to put these people who do got it. And so that's one thing they do to sort of stem the tide of how many black greats get out there. But with the internet now, you have so many cats getting funny on the internet. That's changing things because the comedy club ain't the gatekeeper it used to be. So I think we're going into a different time, and these things that I'm saying right now won't be as true as we move forward.
Yeah, man, it's powerful what you're saying. I mean, you talk from the front lines, you're on that level, and for you to say that a business refused to make money because of their racism, that's insane. Yeah, they'll make all that money on that one night and then just be fine with their mediocre returns the rest of the week. That's crazy. But it's sad but true. And when you was talking I was thinking about the Negro leagues, baseball back in the day, where you had the Negro leagues making way more money than the major leagues, and then they had let's get Jackie Robinson and cross that so-called color line and make more money and just take all the money out of the community, because the Negro leagues was an institution that put money back into the community, reinvest in the community. I don't see that going on right now with a lot of so-called black businesses, or they have the resources to do so. But I just think it's interesting, your insight on Hollywood.
Yeah, because the black help, the black talent is in need for white approval. And that white approval means more than your people. But at the same time, I can't get totally mad at them because there are a few black-owned comedy clubs here in L.A. that don't necessarily, like I said, don't necessarily support blacks. The minute you get a little bit militant, they little coon genes start coming up, and they start, I guess the people who own the comedy clubs out here were the people who snitched on Denmark Vesey. You know?
Yeah.
So when they see a Denmark Vesey level comic coming up, they cut him off at the knees because I don't want Master to get to know I might get somebody coming up in here and he say the wrong thing. You know, so it's just one of those things where I think that, you know, it's that model, I think fortunately is coming to an end, it's dying with the internet and a more decentralized approach, because to tell you the truth, I stopped doing stand-up comedy as much because the payoff, like, it used to be the funniest people on TV got on HBO. Now, if you just give them a couple chuckles, you got an HBO special. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you got some of the best comics on the earth, Freeze Loves, all these other great comics, the Sidney Castillo. These are cats that you guys that do work in Hollywood. You may not necessarily know their names, but when they go on stage, Camaro White, I mean, gut-busting laughs. But you don't see these people get HBO and Showtime specials. You got to hopefully see them at your local comedy club. You know, Larry Goodwill. All these people are funny. But then you turn on HBO and you get chuckles of fun. It's like chuckle, okay. And so it's like the reward for stand-up through the vehicles just aren't interesting anymore. It doesn't do anything for you. And so, you know, it's just one of those things, man. If you know, shouts out to the people who can stick through and be dehumanized through that process, but I can't.
That's why, I mean, when you say that, I was thinking about, man, it's so much that I'm thinking, I'm unpacking. I compared it to the music industry. We just lost Little Richard, a giant, and some other giants like Betty Wright. I mean, in my opinion, these folks, they never really got the shine they should have got as far as their talent.
I'm glad
I just think it's, interesting. Go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up, because actually I have another show that's going to be coming out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to throw the name of it out there yet, but it's going to be interviewing a lot of artists, past and present, to get their stories out. Because like you said, I don't think when it comes to music, our stories aren't documented well. And when it is documented, it's documented by people who don't have our best interests at heart. Yeah. So I think it's upon us to document these stories. When you talk about these greats, people need to know more about Earth and Fire and the sound innovations that they brought. Johnny Guitar Watson, Parliament Funkadelic. Kids know each one of those musicians' names if you want. But we don't teach music. The schools don't teach music, and we don't value music. We have so much out of that 70s era. To me, the 70s was the golden era of music to me. That was just, you had doo-wop, you had bands, you had solo singers, you had funk, you had whatever sound you wanted. You had whatever Tower of Power was doing. You had everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like now that whole era is almost forgotten about, but they still alive. And there's so much I think that they can do with music today, but, music has gone classic and we don't appreciate, what we've had. And in 70s music, we had the gods. We still sort of do, but back then they were allowed to express it more. They didn't have auto-tune. They had to actually get good and hit the tune,
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully on the new show, when I'm doing my interviews, it'll be on my YouTube channel, Dewan B. I'll go to hotepish.com. That's the link to all my stuff. But I have some good interviews coming up with some. I don't want to give any names yet, but it's some nice heavyweights out of that era, and also today, to really get the stories put out there.
Yeah, man, you're doing powerful work, man. Like I said, people need to hit your archives and check out your last several shows and all your catalog in terms of your shows, because I always need something insightful and inspiring and motivating listening to you talk with your guests. And you mentioned Larry Goodwill. He is hilarious to me with his, I see his stuff on Facebook. I
super funny
on the show. I mean, I love it, man. Y'all some great guys.
Yeah, super funny dude, man. Super funny. Yeah.
I was thinking, man, it's like, this is Black Music Month, but it's everything but Black Music Month. And, there's a great documentary on Amazon Prime, if you have it. It's about Betty Davis. This is the wife of Miles Davis, the great Miles Davis.
Yeah.
His sister. Have you seen that Betty Davis documentary?
I haven't seen. I know of her. I haven't seen her particular documentary,
God.
apparently she's still alive, and you know,
she's still alive. She's a recluse though. She's very, definitely an introvert is. She's the definition of an introvert.
Yeah. I'm trying. Speaking of introverts. I'm really trying to nail an interview. Well, we're going to do it, but this whole Corona thing slowed everything down. My father-in-law, he's an introvert, but he produced for Motown and Lionel Richie and Atlantic Star. This man's a legend. But the real ones, the ones who are really that great, they just see it as waking up on a Tuesday morning. They don't necessarily. We see the greatness, but they be like, give me some tacos.
To be like that. I mean, you think it's the way that the society has treated them? That's why they got to have that type of, like, I got to lower my expectations. I can't let people get to me or put me on a pedestal thing.
I think it's like anything else. The truth is always silent. Mm-hmm. When you're the truth, you don't necessarily have to feel the need to speak up. Yeah. It just is. Like, it's just so, for people who are great, their greatness is normal to them. And they question as hell, why aren't you this great too? And in their mind, they don't really see themselves as any, they have the ego. Of course, you have to have the ego. You have to have that presence, and you have to project that when you're out amongst the people. But inside, it's just kind of like, that's work. That's how a lot of them think. It's just work.
I'm glad you said that, because that will separate Kobe Bryant from a lot of other people. Same thing with Charlie Parker. I mean, this guy was practicing 15 hours a day for 4 years on his saxophone. I mean, a lot of people that are gifted natural. They got natural gifts, but skill is different than having a gift. Skill is work ethic, discipline, focus. There's a lot of this talented people out here that don't really reach their potential because they don't have the work ethic.
Yeah, work ethic is huge. We talked about Kobe before, how his 4-day workouts and things like that. You really got to have it. Like in stand-up comedy, I remember when I first started, with a full-time job, I'm still on stage, right. 2 or 3 times a night, 5 or 6 nights a week. And that was after I got off work every night. That's what it takes if you want to be good at this, because you can't just get there and start running your mouth. You got to actually do it all the time. And if you don't do it all the time, then you're going to fall behind. I saw that because on my next show, I had 3 shows that I do online. The other one is my Breakthrough Advocacy Hour, where basically, my services aren't the cheapest. So I wanted a forum where people can go and listen to my advice, where they can go for free. Those are also being put up on my YouTube channel. And I used to be a basketball coach, and I've gotten players all the way up to the NBA. And I saw the level of work ethic it took to make the NBA. If you just knew how much it took to sit on the end of the bench and be the lowest paid player in the NBA, you would have it. If you would think, okay, if you could take half that work ethic and put it towards, have the kids put it towards science, engineering, tech, hell, being an electrician, the outcomes are going to be so much greater than they would be through dedicating that time to sports. And I know that can be controversial to some people, because we've been embedded that football and basketball is our way out. But look, man, like the cat I used to coach, that barely me, I probably wouldn't even know his name, so it's not even worth mentioning it, because he was on the end of the bench. But still, in the off season, that was about 6 to 7 hours a day of work in the off season. And that's to sit on the end of the bench. What if you dedicate 6 or 7 hours a day? What if kids dedicate 6 or 7 hours a day to being the next great engineer or coder? And we had a society of black people with that sort of mindset. Like, I look at it like this when it comes to sports. Sports has been the greatest distraction, because remember how you're great on history, brother mine. You are. What black people did between the end of slavery in 1950 as far as inventions is second to none. You can't name another group that came up with that many things. They had a George Washington Carver, and if you want to go back to the 1800s, a Benjamin Banneker. If you want to, Thomas Jennings, dry cleaning, building the bridges down south, the air condition, Lewis Latimer, all these inventors we had. What's his name? Granville T. Woods. He was 7 feet tall. The man responsible for the roller coaster, the telegraph, was 7 feet tall using his mind. If he was raised today, society would be telling him, you need to be a center for the Lakers. And we never would.
You got Kareem, and he's a scholar.
Yeah. And so we started putting the majority of our resources behind sports after the 60s. And yes, sports had barriers, but the reason why we were able to break them barriers down is because we kept flooding them. They tried to just have a Bill Russell on the team, but then JoJo White came. You know what I mean? Then they had to keep picking us up because we was that good. Then you had to get a Wilt, then a Kareem, then evolve to the point to where now the whole NBA and NFL is black. What if we still had that mindset when it came to developing the minds of our children? They wouldn't be able to keep us out. If we keep flooding them with talent, it ain't going to be no Apple in 10 years because that's how dope we are as a people. But we undersold ourselves thinking that sports is the only way. And sports is so hard to, people out there, if you have a child that plays sports, if he's not the best player, if he's 14 or 15 and he's not the best player in his city and he's not one of the top 5 players in the state, not one of the top 100 players in the country, it's not going to happen for you, period. So my thing is dedicate that energy towards cultivating their minds. Cultivating their minds. These kids are so talented, and they'll tell you where it is. One thing I used to do when I coach, I would say, I don't ever like to tell a kid you're not going to make the NBA. I never tell them that. I always talk to them from, okay, let's say you do make the NBA. Let's say you do play 10 years. You play 10 years in the NBA. Now you're 31 years old and you're retired. You have some money left over. You don't have a huge nest egg because when you get that contract, you don't get the full contract. You get paid on the 1st and the 15th. So you never have a chance to really accumulate the money. And on top of that, when you go from transition from college to the NBA, you know, you got to plane tickets, workouts. You need somewhere to stay. The NCAA didn't pay you anything, so it ain't like you could pay rent. So who's paying for all these things? That stuff is getting paid for on advance. So by the time you get to your first NBA contract, you already $500,000 into the hole, and you only get paid on the 1st and the 15th. So you come into the NBA, you know, back in a hole. And then you get there and you live a life when you're around other people who are rich. You're going to live that lifestyle. You know, you're not going to be eating at Denny's when you're in the NBA. You know, now you're going to be eating at, if you're in LA, Mr. Child. So you're not paying $9 for a meal anymore. Now you're paying $60. And that's just environmental. And people say, I wouldn't do that. That's stupid. You're fooling yourself. Because if everyone in your environment, look at your job right now. Where most people go to work, go to lunch, that's where mostly everybody on the job go to lunch, in those positions. Because that's what you can afford. You're going to be around people who are on your same level. No different than the NBA. You know, and so you never really get to accumulate that wealth. The way the contract is tiered, only 2 players get the max deals. Everyone else gets minimums. So you're playing every year. Your contract may be pulling in $2 or $3 million a year, but out of that $2 or $3 million a year, you're only seeing $1 million of it max, 1.2. But you never saw that million at one time. You saw it given to you on the 1st and the 15th, September through June. And so you have all those things going against you, and then you make the NBA, you play 10 years, now you're 31 years old, and you've got 40 more years to live, 60 more years to live. What you going to do? And so that's how I framed it to a lot of my players, and I still frame it to the children that I mentor now. When you make it, you still going to have to know how to flip money for another 50 years if you want to live any kind of a decent life. So if we dedicate the energy towards cultivating these children's minds, we give them a lot more than just go play a game. You know, it's a detriment to our kids when we tell them the way out is through sports. Because one out of every how many tens of thousands are going to make it? So that means, what does that mean? Does that mean everyone else has to suffer? No. We need plumbers. We need electricians. We need coders. We need mechanics. Hell, we need black people that own tire shops. You know, we need those type things. And I was talking to one of my kids that I mentored this morning, And I was telling him, like, look, give me a 40-year-old former basketball player that played 10 years, and you give me a 40-year-old electrician that started at 19. I guarantee you that 40-year-old electrician that started at 19 and had some sense of that, and he put in half the work as that NBA guy is doing better at the age of 40 than the guy who made the NBA and played 8 or 9 years. I promise you, the electrician is doing better financially. And when we start to see it that way, as a group, as a people, we can start to change our behaviors, because there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to go back and have the next generation of Lewis Latimers and George Washington Carvers out there. But they're out there getting their brains bashed in on a football field.
Wow, that's a lot to take here. I'm glad I'm talking. Like I said, I always get something insightful from you, just listening to you talk. Do you think the media is to blame for this thing, for people pushing sports to the kids?
Yes. Media is a lot to blame, because, and not just media, it's societal. I will see when I'm out there in South Central, and I'll be out in the field working, I will go see my clients out in the field. Mm-hmm. And so you would go and see it. And just about 2 years ago, I put one of my kids I work with in a summer camp. And then I go to the summer camp and I look on the wall. And you know how it is when you walk into the walls of the summer camp, they tell you everyone, you see a picture of Oprah, then you see a picture of Jordan, then you see a picture of Magic, and then a picture of all Jackie Robinson, to Muhammad Ali, to, and these are all great people in their own right. I don't know if I want my kids to be like Oprah, but that's another story. But you see, when children come in, everywhere, children, like all humans, our behavior is tailored depending on consequences and rewards. Consequences and rewards and consequences. And they see from their young minds early on that athletics and entertainment is what's rewarded in our society. So first, in our own neighborhoods, we got to ask ourselves, whose pictures are we putting up? Who are we giving credence to in the home as far as having a higher value? Is it George Washington Carver, or is it LeBron James? So it starts there. We as a people don't tend to push our heroes. Every child should know who Dick Gregory is and who he was and what he represented. And that should have been taught in the home. And we don't do that in the home. And then so that's reinforced through the media, because on TV, all you're going to see on TV and in school is the positive images of black people are going to be athletes or entertainers. And if they're not athletes or entertainers, the only times they see black men on TV is in dresses or in jail. That's it. And so children sort of conclude in their own mind, okay, in order for me to gain approval in this society, I got to be good at one of these things. If I'm good at one of these things, I'm going to reap the rewards that society has to offer. They see the kid that won the science tournament, everyone's going to give him a congratulations and a balloon, but it's not going to be the same emotional reaction that we'll give the kid who just won the state championship in basketball or football. Yeah. So it starts with us and who we value. Then it goes to the media, because you know what? We can guarantee the media don't give us false images. We can guarantee our captors, the descendants of the people who enslaved our ancestors, they're going to continue to point us in the wrong direction. If it has confusion behind it, they're going to put all the resources in the world behind confusion. We can guarantee that. So the only inoculation to that is for us as a people to switch up who we value around the kids and show them not only are these people valuable, man, if you cultivate that mind, you can make bread and more money than you could as an athlete. More. And they just don't know that. I think that's the biggest thing. It starts with us, and then it gets to the media. But the media's they're guaranteed going to show bad images of us. So, that is what it is.
You said so much there. I'm glad that we're documenting this and getting this distributed out to the people. They need to hear this, be amplified, what you're saying. All right, I think that's why I think this COVID coronavirus thing was a blessing in disguise for us as black people. It forced us to quarantine ourselves with our thoughts, for better or for worse. and it was a time of reflection. It is a time of reflection because we're still going through it, whatever this weirdness is. But I think a lot of times people don't have enough time just to stop and think, and really reflect and think about these things. Think about our position in society and how they, provoke us or lie to us through powerful imagery and messaging. And there's so many ways I want to go. You're a basketball fan. You're a super basketball fan. Should they come back right now, July 31st?
No.
Okay,
No. Because, look, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, you look at what black people were doing with our minds before we integrated the schools and inventing things, and you saw how far all the progress we made.
Yeah.
You haven't seen too much black progress as far as it never stopped. You still had those sisters up in NASA. You still had the brother who invented the Super Soaker. You still had the brother that invented fluoride toothpaste. So it never really stopped. But it slowed down tremendously because we put all of our resources behind sports. It's only been 3 months without sports. And in 3 months, the world has changed in the last 3 months more than they have in the last 60 years of voting. So for all the voteps out there talking about after everything is over, just go ahead and vote. Well, look, the 16-year-olds ain't got to vote. But I tell you what they did vote. They took their asses out in that street and voted with their actions. And then you see all kinds of concessions being made. Although these concessions being made by the government are, they're basically facade changes. They're you couldn't hear the word black a year ago on TV. Now Sephora is giving 15% of its retail space to black-owned businesses. Now, companies are giving Juneteenth off. Now you're starting to see all these, although they're symbolic, there's still more. Because one thing about white supremacy is they're always going to trying to keep us on the symbolic. But if we keep our foot on their neck, it's going to go from symbolic to legislative. And it can happen fast because when we focus, right now as black people, we're focused. We see things aren't right. We see things are going wrong. We're focused. And with our focus and getting out there, you saw the rest of the world jump in behind us. Before, when we were playing sports, we would see these things going on, get distracted. We would rise up for a day or two and then go back to watching the NBA finals.
Right.
That's sort of been the pattern. But without the sports, we've been out there on a sustained effort, and we've seen the world jump in. It's kind of like when your car is broke down. If you just pull it aside and throw your hazards on, people are going to keep driving. But if you get out that car and start pushing it, guarantee somebody's going to stop and help you. So, and that's what we're doing. We stopped. We were sitting on the side of the road with our hazards on. With our sports, black people were like, man, F this. Let me start pushing this car. And we've started seeing, and other groups coming in helping us. They have their motives, but that's on us as black people to learn the difference between a friend and an ally. Yeah. An ally is a temporary thing. We tend to think other people helping their friends, and no, they're not. They're allies, and the allyship is only until they get to whatever ends that they want. And that's the part that we as a group got to get more politically mature on. But at least we're moving. And if you bring sports back, first of all, think about this, Ron. They're talking about bringing basketball back. Basketball is always over. My birthday was a couple of days ago, June 17th. That's usually the last day of the NBA season, right there. Hell, I was at Staples Center when the Lakers beat the Celtics on my 30th birthday in 2010 when Kobe won his 5th NBA championship. I was there on the 15th row, sitting right next to Lou Gossett. So I'm here to tell you, y'all know I love my sports. But what we see right here, what we're going through, is more important. It's bigger. Basketball is supposed to be over right now, but they're talking about bringing basketball back while it's supposed to be out of season. Meanwhile, baseball is in season right now, and they ain't talking about bringing them back like that. We got to ask ourselves why. Is it because black people don't watch baseball? And it's like we need to get these. This is my conjecture. I don't know. I'm not in the room, but my conjecture as to why they're bringing basketball back is because that's the sport that black people watch the most.
That's interesting.
Because if anything, it should be baseball because it's baseball season right now.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting. You think Kyrie Irving, is he genuine?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kyrie. I was around him a lot his rookie year. One of the players I coached played on the Cavs that year. And that's part of the reason why I have the words that I have to say about LeBron James. I heard about too much about LeBron from a lot of the staff members in Cleveland himself. That's why I look at him different than most fandom people do. But I remember being around Kyrie, and Kyrie was always different, man. Like, I would see players, one thing about the NBA, when it's a rookie, the rookie has to do all the work. The rookie got to carry the bags. The rookie got to go get the food, do this. So one of the players tried to big boss Kyrie and was like, "Hey, yo, Rook, get my bag." And Kyrie looked at him and looked at the bag. He looked at him and said, "You talking to the wrong motherfucker." And kept walking. Rookies don't do that. Tristan Thompson came right behind him and picked the bag up like, "I'll do it," like a good little rookie could. But when I saw it was the way I saw Kyrie do that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is different. He's his own man. Mm-hmm. Kyrie Irving is his own man. And the players respect Kyrie, but that pisses the media off. The media don't like players who are their own man, who got their own mind. And so what they do is they constantly discredit them. Over every chance they get, they discredit. And since most basketball fans and sports fans don't pay attention to the intricate details, they just go along with whatever Stephen A. Smith or wherever the jive cats on ESPN got to say. Mm-hmm. Kyrie Irving is the real deal. He's somebody who, he studied like, people are mad at him because a couple of years ago he was talking about flat earth theories. Right. I don't personally believe the earth is flat, but if that's somebody's conclusion for something, I'm not going to sit back and waste any time arguing with them. It's a lot of things that people think that a lot of people we love, if we knew what they really thought about certain things, we probably would think about them differently. Right. But one thing I will say is Kyrie's somebody who picks up a book. Kyrie's somebody who takes time to meditate. Kyrie's somebody who takes time to get in touch with himself and the things that he is into. And so for that reason, he's different because I'm going to tell you something about the NBA environment. The NBA environment is very, how can I say this? They don't think. Can I explain to you a little bit of the structure of how they get to that point? Okay. This is how that works. This is how the NBA works. When I used to coach AAU, we kind of had like a mid-level team where we had players who weren't the best, and we would develop them into good players. Mm-hmm. Every time we developed them into somebody who's a good player, who's got the skills, got whatever we were teaching them, one of the Nike or Adidas teams will come and pluck them up. Because for the parents out there that know, I don't know how the rates are in other states, but here in California, it's going to run you about $4,000 a year, not a year, a summer, to put your kid on the AAU team. Travel, jerseys, and that's not including the fundraisers because it really costs more because they have the fundraisers. But it comes down to about $4,000 a summer to have your kid do AAU. Mm-hmm. And so parents invest that money into it for their kids, and the kid gets good. So then now here comes Nike or Adidas saying, "Hey, look, your son's really good. Have him come play for our traveling team over here, and you won't have to pay. And on top of not having to pay, we got some Nikes and some other stuff for you for free. What you gonna do? I ain't got to pay $4,000 a year. Here, take them." What happens after that point is two things. Sometimes you get that player who's really good that they'll push, but oftentimes you'll get Nike or Adidas associated team that'll take your kid who's really good at defense, but because we don't want him to guard our guy, this kid that we've been putting money behind for the last 4 or 5 years, we're going to take your kid and recruit him just to sit him on our bench. Wow. And never play him. So they do things like that. And then it used to be public school was the big thing. Now, private school. Like most of the big high schools now are private. And when you're a private school, you don't necessarily have to abide by the rules of the state and those things like that. So they put them in private school in a different neighborhood that's not the ghetto, quote unquote, anymore. and you got these little young players around all the white girls, and they're being told how great they are, and then the coaches come pulling to the side like, you're great because you're different than those kids from your neighborhood. You're something special. So they segregate them really early, really young, make them feel like they're something special. Don't teach them how to think. It's 6 things. Usually the kids are getting the good ones, the ones who actually have a chance of making the NBA. They're up at 6 in the morning and they're getting their workout in before school. And then they go to school and then they have the after school practice. So they're putting in 3, 4, 5, 6 hour days starting at the age of 14, 15. They travel because these travel teams, once you're in that circuit to where you could possibly make the NBA, the games are now nationwide. It's not just I'm going to drive down to Long Beach for the tournament. No, it's this weekend the tournament is in Vegas. Next week it's in Portland, in Oregon. The next week it's in Orlando, Florida. So, mind you, this is all going on while these kids are in school. So they're missing out on school. They're getting more exposure into these environments. And then they get to college. College is another form of segregation. They segregate them even further from the rest of the student body, put them off, and then they're basically in their own world. And during this time, they're not getting taught anything about world news. They're not getting taught anything about finance, anything about money, nothing pertinent to what their life is going to be. They usually put them in a school. They give them a major, like it's usually English or history. Those are the 2 majors that they go with the most, English and history. Usually if you see a history major, just pay attention when you watch your college sports when they come back. Most of your players are going to be history majors. And that's where they have all the teachers bought off in those departments. And then they get to the NBA. So by the time they get to the NBA in their early 20s, they're about 10 years removed from their community. People don't quite understand that. A rookie is about 10 years removed from his black community, from the people who love him. And during that 10 years, he's been told by the people with resources that you're the exception. Listen to us. You need to listen to us because if you listen to us, you'll get more of what we have, and you won't get necessarily what you come from. They don't tell them that explicitly, but they tell them that through their actions. And, implicitly, they tell them these things. And so by the time they get to the NBA, these are people who never at one point in their lives had the challenges and go through the things that normal kids go through to find themselves and become aware of themselves, because everything's been sort of falsely put in their face. And then they get to the NBA, and now the people are saying, okay, why ain't he with a black girl? Or why ain't this person speaking up? These minds never got developed to do that. It's best that they don't say shit because they don't know shit.
Right.
And I'm not saying all. There are exceptions. I'm saying most. And it's systematically done like this on purpose. Once they get to the NBA, when you get to the NBA, you wake up 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, because you have work, you have shoot around at 10. Shoot around's over at 10, you go back, take a nap. You got a game tonight at 7:30. You wake up, eat, take a nap, go to sleep, have your game. After the game, you fly off to the next city. You get to the next city, you got a day off. You may have some practice in the morning for 2 or 3 hours, then you got the rest of the day to yourself. If you're 22, 23 years old with $1 million in the bank and a whole day to yourself, are you going to pick up USA today, or are you going to find the prettiest girl you can find and try to have her spend the rest of the night with her? What you going to do at 23?
Yeah, the latter.
And then by the time they start to figure it out, as they get to 30, you start to see the players start to figure this out as they come up on them 30s. Problem is, 99% of them ain't gonna be in the NBA no more after they get 30. They're done by the time they figured it out. And so you got the people expecting all these grandiose, great things from people who never had the time to develop the sense it would take to break these things down and put it back out there to the people. But at the same time, they won't turn on a Dick Gregory or a Carl Anderson who already has the answers. That right there is a major problem in our expectation and why we should stop focusing so much on sports as a people. Sports is good. Sports is great. If your kid has a talent, I don't have any issue with you seeing how far it can go. But I want the people out there listening to know that that's the environment. So since that's the environment, I think that we need to make smarter decisions knowing what the environment is.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that jingle review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.